Hey YouTube, as Jungle Cup content is not cutting out right now, I decided what would be like a interesting thing to showcase. And I was going through some comments and I was thinking about it. I'm like, I think it'd be cool to showcase history of like Pokemon that were either meta relevant and not relevant anymore and the reasons why, or those that weren't that are now. Or the first one I'm starting with, Skarmory, was meta and then irrelevant and then back to very, very meta again. So I want to just go over a couple things in this video. Basically how I'm going to do this is like basically just baseline stuff, stat product, typings, why it makes it stronger or weak from that perspective. And then I'm going to go over the history of when the Pokemon was meta versus not meta. And then at the end of the video, I'll go over if you want to use this Pokemon, how to team build with this Pokemon and how to effectively use this Pokemon. So I think that'll be something that actually will be probably more helpful in the long run as opposed to just doing like another Jungle Cup team. Skarmory. So Skarmory, just to give you a history before we go over stat products, Skarmory was one of the main meta relevant Pokemon for the first probably like 5 or 6 seasons. And then it started suffering from just other Pokemon having bulk and XL, and then it became back to meta because of Steel Wing. So we're going to go over all that and how it affects this Pokemon. But quite a few strengths of this Pokemon, and then one glaring weakness here. So stat product wise, 106 attack, 163 defense, 122 stamina, kind of sneaky, bulky, 21, 14 overall stat product. Like I said, I usually look for like that 2000 stat product baseline. But again, there's a bunch of combos between like moveset and stuff like that. But you have the 21, 14 overall stat product, so that is one of its strengths. Another one of its strengths is its typing. Flying Steel, a very, very, very unique typing, only weak to electric and fire. So back in the day, there was not a lot of electric and fire there's not a lot of electric and fire in the meta right now either, which makes it the typing very, very strong. And then the resistances: poison, double resist poison, grass, bug, and single resist steel, psychic, normal, ground, flying, fairy, and dragon. Right? So decent stat product, decent to good stat product, and great typing for the Great League meta. So from that perspective, it was always good. Second, it was accessible, right? Back in the day, you were kind of using whatever was accessible, and this is an earlier generation Pokemon, so you got access to it pretty early back in the day when GBL started. So for those two reasons, it was one of the main meta. In terms of stack products, you got to ignore Steel Wing right now because Steel Wing got buffed, right? So we'll talk about that a bit later. But Air Slash, and here's why Skarmory struggled. It was so good, but so bad at the same time. So Air Slash, not a good charge, the fast move. 3.6 damage per turn and 3 energy per turn. So both those damage and energy are not good. And then you only had moves that would otherwise just get resisted by you almost always ran Sky Attack Brave Bird. Some people ran Flash Cannon, but mostly it was Sky Attack Brave Bird. Remember, Sky Attack got nerfed too, so Sky Attack used to be better than this. I think it was like a little quicker energy. So your damage per energy was a little higher, like 1.9, and then you had the nuke of Brave Bird. So you have two really, really hard-hitting, decent charge moves, but you're like just pure flying. That's all you did. Like, again, some Flash Cannon, whatever. But for the most part, you would just get kind of walled by Steel. So whenever you built with it, Skarmory, Swampert, plus a Safe Swap was one of the oldest OG teams ever because you had your Swampert deal with your Steels, and your Skarmory deal with your grass, right? So it's just an easy team build there. So what I did was I put in, again, I can only do so much with updated stats. So Sky Attack is nerfed here compared to earlier seasons, but I put in all the old meta Pokemon: Azumarill, Swampert, Shiftry, Hypno, Altaria, Registeel, Cresselia, Empoleon, Umbreon, Venusaur, Machamp, and Marowak. I may be missing like one or two, but those are like pretty much the staples of like the first like 3 or 4 seasons of Great League. And I put it with Air Slash because that's the move it had. So when you go look at the record, it is a 6-6 record, which is right about even. And that's kind of what Skarmory played back in the day. It was generally a good Pokemon, not an amazing Pokemon, really, really benefit on the typings. So feature like obviously grass and fighters and stuff like that. Walls, certain things like Cresselia, which just didn't have a move for you. And then Altaria, same thing. And then it was kind of neutral against Azumarill, stuff like that again. But the problem was Steels, Registeel, and Empoleon. just getting like no fast move or charge move for the steals. Swampert just kind of outpaces you. And then Umbreon was just too bulky, essentially. So that's kind of how it fared in the early seasons. Then what happened was the meta shifted, and I'm going to get rid of Steel Wing for a second here. What happened was the meta shifted, and two things happened with this shift. One was there were more Pokemon that there's like three things that happened. One is the XLs, right? You cannot discount the XLs that are in Great League now, right? So 2100 overall stat product is good, but you're looking at like a 24 to 30 Pokemon, right? So when you start getting into your Lickitung XLs, 2283, level 45 to 50, you get your Sableye. Again, not as good as stat product here, but like Shadow Claw, one of the best fast moves in the game, which makes up for it, 4150. And then even like a Azumarill started going from like, you could only had like a level 38 back in the day, 38 to 40 back in the day, and now it gets up to 50. So all these XLs came out to play, which automatically hinders a Pokemon that is not XL. The second thing is the typings of the Pokemon that came in, right? So again, you got to remember, this is just with Air Slash, Brave Bird, and Sky Attack. So it's just straight flying moves. So the first one is your rock Pokemon like Bastion and Carbink. They came into the meta. You had nothing. So you were always going to get walled by like Registeel. Then more people had access to Galarian Stunfisk. And then Bastion and Carbink came in. Is there any... Oh, and then Lantern, right? How long has Lantern been meta? Like 4 or 5 seasons now. Lantern as like your main electric. And then a Sandslash as another steel that was everywhere. Stunfisk, and then Talonflame when it got the community boost as well. So all of a sudden you have a bunch of XL Pokemon running around. You have a bunch of walls to you that are just going to like destroy you. And you still have your Air Slash, Brave Bird, Sky Attack, which is a bad combo. So when you run this analysis, XL Pokemon versus just the Air Slash, 13 and 28 records. So Skarmory disappeared for probably like 4 or 5 seasons. There's no point in using it. The meta at the time just didn't wall it. You were always going to get walled, but it just seemed like there was more checks to it. You still had some good matchups, but your kind of sneaky bulk that you used to have back in the day just would not cut it anymore with a lot of other XL Pokemon, and then your moveset did not catch up to you. So that was the problem with Skarmory. So it disappeared for like 4 or 5 seasons, only to come back this season with Steel Wing. So it got access to the fast move Steel Wing, which, as you can see, first of all, it's a 2-turn move versus 3-turn move. So automatically, it's already better to use. Obviously, if you want to go check out my videos on like fast move optimization, stuff like that, it's much, much easier to time and catch and do everything with a 1 to 2 turn fast move than it is to do with a 3, 4, and 5. So you already have Steel Wing as a 2-turn fast move compared to a 3-turn fast move. The second thing, as you can see by the damage per turn and energy per turn, you increase both. So you increased the amount of damage you output with Steel Wing, and you increase the amount of energy that you get with Steel Wing. At the same time, you now have a little more coverage, right? So Flying and Steel still both resist by Steel, but those rocks and stuff that I mentioned, instead of doing resisted flying on the rocks, you're now doing super effective on the rocks, right? So there's a couple things like that where it improved. Plus, it did not take you down against this other stuff where you needed flying, right? So if you wanted flying against, let's say, grass, you're still going to beat the grass overall, right? So where it does kind of bring you down a little bit is against the waters, right? Because Air Slash is neutral, but Steel Wing is resisted. That said, you'd still probably rather just have the extra, like your damage will be a bit lower because it's resisted, but the energy generation is where you want to get to anyways. And so when you put that move in with Skarmory into the open Great League meta, you pick up 11 wins and a tie, right? So huge swing. Azumarill, Carbink, Dragonair, Feraligatr, Medi, Ninetales, Poliwrath, Sableye, even a Sandslash, Vigoroth, Whiscash, and then Mirror Match Skarmory, which is kind of a weird one. So, hello, 24 and 16 record, and that jumped it back into very, very meta relevance because you have a lot of Pokemon on here that are very meta, that have been around since the beginning of time as meta, Azumarill, Sableye, and then like Medi has been around for like years and years and years now. And then you have other Pokemon that are more newer metas, but Poliwrath, Shadow Whiscash, like Carbink, that you are now beating too. So it became super, super meta relevant again. And a lot of people are using Skarmory again. So the question is, how do you team build with this thing? And how do you use it? So in terms of using it, this is just my suggestion on using it. And it's up to you how you want to play it. So let's just do team building. I think team building is the easier one because the team building is something like Swampert, right? You're still going to suck against steel type Pokemon. So Swampert, Whiscash, Annihilate as your first three to deal with that, right? All three, Swampert, Whiscash, the Mud Boys, weak to grass. You are steel, flying, you double resist the grass, right? 0.39 right there. Dragonair and Cresselia are kind of interesting ones because you're kind of going to do bad against steel. So I don't know if I love that, but let's just put in like the Swampert just to give you the how well they cover each other's weakness, right? So Registeel, Annihilate, take a Swampert. Cresselia is going to be tough there. Skarmory does that. Both weak to Mana Buzz because, well, you don't, not weak, but you both lose to Mana Buzz. Lantern super weakness on Skarmory as an electric, but you beat it really hard with right Swampert. So this was the easiest team build for a while. There are some Pokemon like Manabuzz and I forget, there's a couple others on this list. Jellicent, Umbreon, a couple Pokemon that can take out both, but for the most part it is a very balanced. So if you're going to team build with this thing, if you want to just do a super balanced team, it's something like Skarmory, Swampert, Whiscash, whatever in the back, and a safe swap. That is the easiest way to use this. You can lead either or, Swampert or Skarmory. I usually use Swampert because it only has one weakness. I guess Skarmory only has two weaknesses, so it's not too bad from that perspective. But I always like just doing Swampert because I could add shield pressure and then figure out what I want to do in the back end. But Skarmory is more, you're going to get walled. The thing with well, it's not that you're going to get walled with, if you see like a grass or even like a dragon, like a Altaria or something, is going to cause a lot of problems to Swampert. So it's not like you could just, neither are good safe swaps. That's the only problem with this core, is you need a safe swap you can pivot to, because Swampert and Skarmory can both get just absolutely killed as safe swaps, right? If you see a grass as Swampert, double weak to grass, and then if you see like a Lantern or something, you can't throw anything. You're just, those are basically top left games. So you need to use a safe swap. I used Skarmory, Swampert, Sableye a lot. I think that's a pretty safe team to use. Some like, again, Mandibuzz is already kind of an issue for both. But like if I say Mandibuzz on the lead, I'm not safe swapping anything, right? I'm just staying in with Swampert or Skarmory and just chipping as much as I can. So from that perspective, it's not the worst. So that's the team building aspect of it. In terms of how you use it, so my thought process behind this is, if you ever see me use Skarmory, let's just say you have a neutral matchup. As you can see, by Skytack got nerfed a few seasons ago to lower Noctowl, which was everywhere, right? So Skytack is 50 energy for 90 damage, 1.8. For an extra Steel Wing, yeah, because you get energy per turn is one turn, but a Steel Wing gives you 7 energy. So essentially, for an extra Steel Wing, you can get to Brave Bird, which does 156 damage, which is 66 more damage for 2.84. Now, obviously, it lowers your defense by 3 stages, which basically means the wind is going to take you out. Like when you lower your defense by that many stages, you are essentially just leaving yourself open to any charge move and even some fast moves taking you out. That said, what I found when using this Pokemon is there's almost no instance that I want to throw Sky Attack over Brave Bird. I am almost the only way I'm throwing Sky Attack over Brave Bird. Let me take that back. The only way I'm throwing Sky Attack over Brave Bird is if one, Brave Bird doesn't like one shot, and you need two Sky Attacks anyways, like a Brave Bird Sky Attack or just two Sky Attacks. Just do two Sky Attacks. The second instance is if Sky Attack, like if you're against a grass or a fighter and Sky Attack super effective and you can just Steel Wing Sky Attack once and take them out. Like those are the instances where I'm using it like that. There are a lot of instances where if you're against like a very bulky Pokemon like Lickitung, or you're against even a Pokemon that probably won't shield Sky Attack, I will often do one of two things. I will either go straight Brave Bird, like go to Brave Bird and throw immediately and then dip into my safe swap. Or what I do a lot of the time is I go basically to 100 energy and then go Brave Bird, save my shields, go to 100 energy, Brave Bird, and then you only need like a couple more Steel Wings to get to the second Brave Bird, 2 or 3 Steel Wings to get to the second Brave Bird. So I just find that for that little extra energy, if I'm using a Pokemon that's going to get walled by a bunch of stuff anyways, having the same typing charge move, I understand the limitations of like lowering your defense by 3, but I just think it's worth it to just go straight Brave Bird almost in every condition. And then just like in the one shield, even if you can just go like Brave Bird and then Steel Wing Brave Bird again, like that's pretty much what I would do to use Skarmory. So that is it. That is the history of Skarmory. That is why it was meta relevant and then not meta relevant and then meta again. With this Pokemon, it's one of those Pokemon where I think the traits here, let me just confirm that they're on the screen because they're on, oh, sorry. Yeah, the traits here that you are seeing are the exact traits that I think are very, I think it's accurately tagged here. It's got good bulk. With Brave Bird, you have shield pressure, and it's a very sort of defensive, right? 150, 63 defense stat product. So very bulky. You can take some charge moves with it. It is inflexible. And it's not technical because you Steel Wing and then you fast move. And I think by not technical, it kind of, is there a definition? Yeah, there is a definition. So inflexible. Oh. So bulky takes hits well. Shield pressure. Pressures opponents to shield. It's stronger up his attack, right? Because Brave Bird does add it. Defensive. Resists attack from a wide variety. Okay, so that's not what I looked at the defense. I guess from the bulky is your defense stat product right there. And then defensive is your 15 resistances that I mentioned or whatever, how many resistances that I mentioned. Inflexible may struggle to hit multiple types, and that's it, right? When you only have flying moves, you're not going to hit steels, you're not going to hit electric. With the Steel Wing, you're going to be resisted by water. Like you're kind of limited with your moveset. And then technical, use this complex move that may have a higher learning curve. When it says is a minus technical, does that mean there is a learning curve on this? Because some people did, and I think that, and maybe it is complex, whether you Brave Bird or Sky Attack, because in a lot of instances it's kind of what I just said. Like, what is the optimal time to Sky Attack versus Brave Bird? Some people just go straight Sky Attack because they don't want to lower their defense times 3. I'm in the argument that you should probably go just straight Brave Bird and just manage that -3 defense. So I guess from that perspective, it is a little complex of like, when do you throw a nuke that can lower your defense times 3 versus when do you just go Sky Attack when the difference is only 5 energy. So from that perspective, it is a little tricky to use. And I think that's why people struggle with it. I've had a lot of comments be like Skarmory, either Skarmory's so annoying or I use Skarmory and I don't like it or whatever. So yeah, it's one of those things where it's like you just get walled. But on the other end, like there are definitely some pros to it. So I think that's my look at Skarmory. What I want to do next time is I'll add some battles in next time. I just did this like it's Sunday and I'm putting this up Monday morning because I was just like, again, looking at my stat products for the Jungle Cup the last Saturday and Sunday, and I was just like, this is terrible. I need something else. So I'm going to just do this, see how it's received. Let me know in the comments below whether you want me to add anything or take anything away or look at it from a different perspective. I think adding a couple battles of how I would use it in action is probably what I'm going to do next. So I will do that next for the next Pokemon. So a few things. 1, let me know if you like this or not. 2, let me know what you would want to add or subtract. 3, let me know what Pokemon you want to see next. Anyways, I hope this was helpful and a nice change of pace compared to just the teams. And yeah, I think that's it. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.